There's a lot of little water beading there.
Good day guys, Vic right here. Hope everybody's doing well. I've got this this B4000 from a friend, and look how this thing is, how clean this thing is. This is his 99, guys. 99. It's got no rust, almost no rust. There's a little bit of rust where the over fenders are and they rub a little bit, but otherwise it's a perfectly clean truck and solid truck. So the friend who owns this thing, he's had issue with the intake gasket. He had them replaced, but then they started leaking oil outside of the engine, and shortly after started having a lot of problem with the rough running and all that stuff. I already did the IAC here, which regulates the amount of intake air. There was a broken spring and a cap in there, and it wasn't doing the thing. The whole valve, you could move it, you could shake it. So there was the first issue. We changed that, and we had sporadic issues with the mass airflow. We've done that. Some days it will work really good now, and some day it just won't work. And sometimes I gotta disconnect this. I already disconnected it because now I gotta remove the whole thing and remove the whole intake. I got a Molly kit, which should have everything that I need, every little bits and pieces that I need, and all the gasket. When I replace all of that, I'm gonna inspect what happened and why the other gasket failed, because it's just been put in. This thing has 200,000 kilometers, which is 120 miles, 120,000 miles. So it should run pretty good. So we'll start taking things off, and we see what we can find. Okay, now I'm gonna do the ear core tubes here. I've drained the coolant. I should be fine with removing these old clamp and making a little bit more room. So it's just a matter right now of disconnecting all the connectors. They only go one way, and the length will clearly teach you where they go back. So I'm removing all the wiring harness, so that once I start removing pieces of it, if the wiring is in the way, I can just move it aside. And we'll start by removing this upper intake, and then it'll give us access to the rest of it. Pull it back out. Now we can see the 6 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But before we do that, gotta do it on the other side. And we'll remove whatever wires and tubes that's attached on that side. Okay, so the surface looks good enough. Seems like it was sealing. I don't know how well, but the other side is kind of, the gasket is kind of smushed inside pretty deep. They they've been mushed in there, and it could be totally normal. I don't think that's where it's leaking, because at the back of the engine there, in the valley, it's leaking like I said, it's leaking a lot of oil. So somehow the intake is not sealed to the block, and if it's not sealed to the block and leaking oil out, maybe it's letting air in inside the runners and inside the cylinders, so that would cause the lean condition, because this truck had the lean condition, of course. Now in front of the engine, this wire is going to keep you from pulling the harness all the way off, so you got to go underneath. So here's the connector, you push on the tab and you pull it off the crank sensor. Good, all the wires are out of the way. Now I'm going to put penetrating oil on all of the valve covers bolt, and I also took the opportunity to remove the PCV valve because we're going to inspect it, see if there's anything wrong with it while we're at it. It will be very easy to replace, having the parts in our hands. Okay, we got both cover gasket out, and now you see why we need to remove them, because the intake is part of the seating area for the gasket of the valve cover. Now we got 8 bolts here, 10 millimeter, and we'll be able to lift this up and hopefully see the problem. Good, think we found it. Basically at the back here it should be sealed along this flange here. You see this one is very clean, but if you look here, it's as if nothing ever contacted to it, even changed color with the rust and all that stuff. So yep, it was leaking from there, and you can see there's the puddle against the transmission. So it was leaking from here. And this is the cam sensor. If you ever had, even once you had a cam sensor code and you're doing this job, might as well replace it now. Gonna save a lot in labor. So yeah, seeing how this looks here versus where it was clean and sealed, I'd say yep, they did not put enough RTV in this corner here, and it caused the oil to leak. As far as the air getting inside the engine and running lean, I'm still checking all the gaskets as well as the other one and trying to see where it was coming from. Okay, well, I found the oil leak, and it's worse than I thought. I just started cleaning the old gasket out, and apparently the last guy put silicone in the corner there. Nothing in between. Same thing in front, nothing in between, but since the engine is a little bit tilted backwards, everything leaks from here. And yeah, there's nothing. They cleaned it up. You see it's been cleaned up, but nothing was applied. You see there's a blob here in the corner. There was one here as well, but there was no sealant all the way around. So I'm gonna take a picture of that and send that to the owner, because we found a leak. Okay, so I removed the fuel rail from the intake because I'm gonna replace all the O-rings. Seems to be the last guy or remove. Well, you replace those the top ones, but not the bottom ones, which are extremely cruddy and hard. So they're not as supple as they used to be, and it could cause an issue too. And while we're at it, well, I'm just gonna replace those as well. Cleaned up the fuel rail, all the holes and all that. All that matters is nice and clean. So just gonna remove all those little O-rings, put the new ones in, and start reassembling everything. And a little bit of silicone grease. so it goes in easier and doesn't tear up the brand new O-rings. So in it goes. Nice. Okay, so here's the stack. Need one gasket, the black plastic one, which you scrape the gasket material off, and you put the new one in, and that's the that's part number 3, and then the fuel rail goes on top of that. But I'm gonna need 2 ends to line up the holes, line up the injectors, and not tear anything out. So I'll be back. And got a little cover valve back on, and now I'm just making sure all the wires fit correctly. This is the stud that goes in here, so you can clip the wire in, so don't forget to put it back here if it comes out. Now I'm gonna fish this crank sensor back in the hole here and plug it back in. But yeah, almost done. The upper gasket has the figure 8 gasket there, and as you can see, this one is pretty brittle and dry. So we have them, so we're gonna pull those out and put new ones in. Alright, it's almost back together. Only thing left to do is connect the crank sensor at the bottom, connect the batteries, and run a few things, put coolants in it. But yeah, reassembly, just like disassembly really. And it's pretty simple design, pretty standard engine. But if you want to remove the fuel rail here to get to the other two, the upper intake gaskets, you're gonna need some E7 or a stud puller. You can use either. This is the E7, so you can just buy the E7 if you just want to do this job. And I'm just double checking my work here, and a good thing I did because I forgot to clamp in the coolant hose, but it's not yet filled up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna complete that, and then we'll see how much better it runs. Okay, so the truck is gone, so I went for a drive. It runs perfect, and now I got this mess to deal with, so I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna go back home. So thanks for watching, rate and subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.